By now, we all know that the human impacts of climate change are harming the ocean in various ways. In order to help mitigate the destruction, countries create marine protected areas. Within many of these protected areas are reserves, which are no-take zones protected from human influence. These highly protected areas are the most efficient in terms of increasing fisheries yield and biodiversity. Many of these reserves are connected to each other by ocean currents, while others are completely isolated. Connected reserves are more resilient and recover faster after catastrophic events such as hurricanes due to increased larval flow. I created a model that released 10,000 particles representing larvae 4 times a year from each reserve and followed surface currents to see where these particles would end up after a period of 40 days, which is the average pelagic larval duration. Most importantly, I wanted to know if they ended up in other marine reserves and where those reserves are located. This model created a set of global networks. Those reserves that sent particles to other reserves or received particles were considered connected. 26% of the reserves, over 500 total, are completely isolated. I ended up with a set of 66 networks. Of the networks that were created, only 11 had more than 20 reserves, 2 of which are extremely large, as we can see on this graph. The largest 11 networks can be seen on this map. Now, among these large networks, 7 of them span multiple countries, while 4 are concentrated in a single country. In theory, networks governed by a single country will have a more cohesive management style because they're all managed under the same policies, at least at the country level. Among the 7 networks that cross multiple countries, only 3 show variability in the Human Development Index. These networks are located around Australia, in the Baltic Sea, and in the Western Caribbean. These same networks, with the addition of the Eastern Caribbean network, also show varied levels of fisheries dependency and high levels of variability in their focus on protecting environmental resources and ecosystems. This variability in the perceived importance of the reserve networks can impact the level of protection and enforcement, but facilitating face-to-face communication can lead to higher cooperation and more effective management. As climate change impacts larval patterns, it will be important for the countries included in these networks to look past country boundaries and work together to give marine reserve networks the necessary level of protection which will ultimately benefit everyone.